Good evening, every pony and every creature. Welcome to tonight's stream on DAG. As always, this is Dratta Arcana, your host, and welcome to Dratta Talks. And with me tonight is special guest.
Hi guys, I'm MidnightPremiere.
Welcome, Midnight. So we met at Winnie City, didn't we?
Yes, with thanks to Pirate Dash.
Yeah, Pirate Dash has been on my podcast a few times. And I actually, your art is actually really amazing. You did the, what was it, the title art for Doors 3, I believe, that YouTube video?
Thank you. Yes, I did. I had a collaboration with the host Yasho and another artist, Keithrin K. And together we created the thumbnail for Doors 3.
Yeah, and you also did the art for HarmonyCon, right? I think you did. That's what I heard.
Not for HarmonyCon. I've been a staff artist for BronyCon, Winnie City, Ciderfest, TrotCon, and several others. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you tend to also vend those cons as well. So definitely we're going with a more art theme tonight, and we're going to talk about how to become a brony artist, I believe is the topic we were going to talk about. That's something you know a lot about, right?
A little too much about it.
Well, with the one of the things that I've always talked about, I've talked about it a lot on my channel, and it's that the fandom is practically ran by the brony artists. And to be honest, I'm not the best at drawing. I usually have to commission stuff to other artists because I can't draw for the life of me. So how do you get someone like me, who's a terrible artist, to start drawing?
Oh, trust me, when I started in this fandom, my art was incredibly bad. It was, I set records for how poor it was, and all I did was I kept going, and I was crazy enough to broadcast myself, and it motivated me to get better, slowly but surely.
Well, motivation is definitely something that I've noticed that a lot of content creators in the fandom tend to struggle with. And staying motivated is hard, especially when things like commissions are stacking up and when things are becoming more difficult with workload and stuff. But many artists have to start out with, other jobs to start. How'd you become, so you do this full time too, right?
Mm-hmm. Right now I am mostly, I'm a full-time student as well. So thankfully I don't need to completely rely on art for my job. I'm still dependent and, still finding my way, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely hard for people to transition into making this a lifestyle, really, especially with burnout and finding that motivation.
And I've had it where even for my own YouTube channel where I've had burnouts, I've had change in channel stuff. But one of the things I've definitely embraced is, this fandom. I go to BronyCon. I've been to Winnie City twice. BronyCon, this upcoming BronyCon will be my second BronyCon. And one of the things that I see so much of is that there's so many artists. How do you distinguish yourself between all the other artists? Because there's a lot.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. The thing that I love about this fandom is that there's no animosity between us. So it feels like even in a hall such as BronyCon, it's massive. You've got just a labyrinth of different styles, of different people, of all different walks of life, and we all work together. I don't ever feel this negative competition. I always feel welcome to kind of embrace my own style and experiment. There's no hierarchy, essentially. It's nice in the pony fandom. It's a good way to get started, I think.
And we've seen some of the brony artists become actually part of the show as well. Examples like Pixel Kitty and There's one musician that I'm forgetting now, but I think he went by DJ, and they had him do some music for iTunes, I believe. But
I know there's an artist named Sophie Scruggs who started off as a fan artist, and she's actually been commissioned to make an official comic cover for IDW, which is really impressive.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that this fandom has really, I think, contributed. It's given a lot of artists and a lot of content creators a way to get started. And I know for me personally, I actually started as a professional videographer and actually moved it into a hobby. And that's how this channel came to be. But, a lot of artists, I think, get their start here. And with that, how do you, where do you start on the page? You get a piece of paper in front of you and a pencil, and how do you just start? That just seems difficult.
Honestly, the thing that I've learned is that with anything, that especially something that requires, broadcasting yourself, such as art or any sort of creative endeavor, is that the hardest step is putting yourself out there. To, taking that first step. It feels like every fiber of your being is fighting against doing that, because it's such a vulnerable position. So yeah, I think that the most important step is building a small platform for yourself. It's not thinking about, and I'll have an audience or whatever. It's starting with, I'm going to put this line on this paper and I'm going to submit it to, I don't know, DeviantArt or Twitter or whatever platform that you find that appeals to you most. And just taking that first step really is, as stereotypical or cliche as that sounds, is definitely the most important step.
Yeah, and that's something that I've started to do with my own channel, is I submit some of my podcasts on the EQD just to get my name out there and stuff. And, Winnie City was the first time that I think, after starting this channel, was the first real convention where people actually knew who I was. And it was kind of surprising. I was just talking to one of my oldest high school friends only like a week ago, and it turns out that his wife actually follows my channel, and I was like, really? That's interesting.
That's awesome.
I know, small world, right?
Yeah.
But getting your name out there is not always easy, especially when there's thousands of different artists, and people like different styles, and it's, I know that gearing towards, a particular style, you wouldn't ask a cartoon artist to do something realistic, but I know that I had asked Pirate Dash to do a piece for me in a cartoony style, but I didn't want a cartoony style, I wanted a realistic style, and he straight up told me, go somewhere else, and I was like, but you're a friend. But I've tried to work with the different bases. I've done some wiki research, and I've started putting pencil to paper just to see what I could come up with. And I know I'll never be an artist.
Well, it's always, I heard a saying once where someone told me it takes 500 pieces of crap to get that one good line in. And even now, 7 years into the fandom, I still find myself getting those days where I just have to relearn from scratch, basically how to draw those darn pony legs or that horse head. It's a constant battle, really.
Yeah. I don't think anyone starts out with a Mona Lisa.
No, I wish. That would be really convenient.
My brother was he was one of those people that had this natural talent for art. I never knew how he did it. With absolutely no research, his art came out phenomenal. I don't know why he quit trying to go into that path, but lo and behold, some people do just have natural talent, but it's extremely rare. Most of us have to work towards that.
Definitely. I wish I had that prodigal start myself, but no, I wasn't that fortunate.
Well, as much as we all wish that we were that fortunate, it does come down to practice. And I know it took me a long time to kind of get the style I wanted for my podcast. It took almost 6 months of experimentation to get Dratta Talks to where it is. One of the other things I was kind of curious about is with art, how do you choose the colors? How do you do all that? I'm familiar with the color wheel, but deciding what color to make a pony can be a little challenging sometimes.
It's definitely, that one I think differs from person to person. A lot of people settle into a routine that they feel most comfortable with. So I know that there are websites that a lot of people use and that I will play with, experiment, that show different color combinations. Or sometimes when I'm bored and looking for inspiration, I'll look up pictures of maybe a beach side or a garden, and I'll look at those colors. I'll color pick. I'll play around with them and make something that feels fluent. There's some artists on Twitter that I see a lot that will, before they make a piece, they will do kind of a swatch test, which is where they'll pick out the colors. Okay, I want to draw Princess Cadence, so I'm going to pick her, that pink color, and I'm gonna do a really quick just brush strokes on the canvas, and I'm gonna move it around until it looks right, and it kind of looks fluid as just this swash of messy color. And from there, I'm gonna start the piece. So they kind of get a feel for the canvas, I think, before actually coming up with a composition. So it's definitely a trial and error for everyone.
So one of the other things too is that there's a lot of different ways to draw too. You got paint, you have just regular pencil, you have watercolor, all these different things that you can do color wise. How do you decide which one to use for different arts and stuff?
I let my tears flow onto the canvas, and I just kind of let them do their own thing from there, and let the salt from my tears. And no, it's I think it's really trial and error again for different art style, painting styles, or I found out I had a few just casual art classes in school growing up, so I had some exposure to different types of mediums, different paints, and they appeal to everyone in different ways.
Okay, well, and that's something that I think the pony fandom has been very good with. Is my experience in the pony fandom is that every single artist is different. You look at all the styles. As much as we think that there's only one way to draw a pony, there's actually hundreds and hundreds of ways to draw a pony, apparently.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh.
So, but here's the big thing, one of the things I'm sure many of our listeners are going to wonder, why are we talking about how to become a Brony artist when the show is about to end? That's, why would you still be in the pony fandom and still doing pony art? What would encourage you to do that?
Well, to be honest, I'm not caught up with the show. I haven't been caught up with the show for several seasons. Shame, I know, but honestly, at this point, and a lot of people I've talked to echo the same sentiment, where we're all kind of in this because of the community. At this point, the Brony community is the people. It's not so much the show, and the show is great, and I love that we all got our start here, but we've all become this, this band of misfits who've seen each other, through this show, and now we just hang out at conventions, and we use art as a form of expression and to meet new people. It's really cool.
Yeah, and that's actually a really positive note, especially for those, Pirate Dash is one of those that's been like, well, the show's ending, so the fandom's gonna take a hit. I'm like, no, it's the fandom is by the fans, and I've stressed that on my channel. I don't know how much. I did a whole podcast, is season 9 the end of the MLP, and I go into, is this the end of the fandom? And I really don't think it is. And it's, individuals like you, Midnight, who keep the fandom going. If it wasn't for, I think, the artists and you guys all working together, that we might not have a fandom. So we really appreciate that you guys do all this.
It's a lot of fun. It's I definitely feel like when the show ends, of course things are going to change, but that doesn't mean they have to go away by any means.
Exactly, yeah. And if people are want to learn how to draw ponies like me, like Dratta, who can't draw for the life of him,
you can do it.
I can do it. Thanks. I like that you have so much faith.
Oh my goodness, I have work that is hidden in my other DeviantArt galleries, of from back in 2013, 2012, and they're just a horror among the eyes. And I know you can do so much better. I'm positive, and I know that it's only up from there. So you can do it. You're surrounded by artists. I know you can. You'll be up here with the greats in no time.
Well, it's like that song, we can do this. We got this together.
We got this together. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I just love the artists. And sometimes I've noticed a lot when going to conventions and stuff, especially Cider Fest and Winnie City, I noticed that a lot of the content creators that are brought in as special guests tend to be YouTubers and musicians. I almost feel like the artists are not being represented in the fandom sometimes by the higher sections of the conventions. How do you guys do you guys feel that way, or?
I think that's definitely a point that's been touched on with a lot of artists. I know that because art is such, visual art is such a quick medium, I suppose, for people. It makes a very quick impression, whereas something like a video is more has more shareability. It has a longer lasting impression usually. So it's easier for people to just take those and make those kind of content creators special guests or recognizable faces of the fandom. And I mean, they do great. I would love to see other artists that I know who have been in the fandom since the start. I'd love to see them better represented, for sure.
Yeah, and that's something that Pirate Dash and myself have talked about, and he was the one that actually suggested that I bring you guys, all the artists onto my show, so that way, you guys can get some representation here. And I love art. One of the biggest things that always appeals to me whenever I go to a convention, whenever I do anything pony related, the first thing that always speaks to me is not the videos, not the YouTubers. It's the artists. I go on DeviantArt and I go on Google, and one of the things that I love putting in there is like Princess Luna, and then I click on images. I never go to video. I always go to images.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I know so many good. Being in the vendor hall for for a couple years, I can just take a lap around BronyCon or Winnie City and just fangirl about all the people there, and their kind of journey throughout the fandom and the art that they make and why they make it. And it's always so cool, meeting the face behind the art.
Yeah, and I always love meeting different artists because something happened to me at Winnie City that I found amazing. Back when I was first starting in the fandom, and I was just, playing the card game, and I came across an image of Princess Luna, and I was like, oh, that's an awesome image of Princess Luna. I had no idea who drew it. There was no signature, no nothing. And I was just like, well, I'm going to send this on to get it printed for $25. And I always felt bad that I never met the artist behind it. Well, Winnie City 2019, I came across the artist. I was like, I got to buy something from you, because I told him that I had used his art for a playmat, and, I wanted to, contribute somehow. So I recently got, to contribute to him, I bought a blanket from him. So I like being
That's
able
awesome.
to support the artists as best I can, especially of art that I just love. And honestly, what always speaks to me is all the art in this community. There's a lot of it. And it's what drives my imagination in this community. It allows me to view the ponies I love, not from the show image, but from a different perspective. I feel like that the fan art always speaks to me more than anything that else has ever been done. And I've never seen such a wide, diverse group of artists. So, thank you.
It's yeah, I totally I agree with you 100%. It's incredible seeing what people can do with, things that started as 2D characters on a kids cartoon show, and just how unique people have put their perspectives into these characters they've made. All these original characters for just by themselves are insane and so imaginative, and you can really see each artist echoed in their piece, and it's I could fangirl about it all day.
Well, and that's probably something that maybe a lot of beginning artists should think about is, how do you decide, how far you want to go? For me, I just started this channel because I wanted to continue to make videos, because that's kind of what I went to school for along with my regular work. I went to school for 2 different degrees on 2 opposite sides of the spectrum. One a media degree, the other one a science degree, and I kind of got torn towards the science degree, but I also wanted to keep up videos. But I don't expect, I never expected my channel to become slightly more well known, or to even have someone as famous as you, Midnight, up here.
Oh, not I'm not, but thank you. I really appreciate it.
So, I think people wanting to become an artist in this fandom, I think they should strive for it. I think, everyone who's trying to draw would be really supportive, and that's something I've always liked about this fandom. And you've actually encouraged me to try my hand at bases again.
Honestly, yes, you should. Especially now that because you've had experience going around the vendor halls, I would definitely encourage you and any other artist to just talk with vendors about, beginning, getting into art, and just even in the lobbies. I've seen one of my biggest inspirations when I was starting out is I would just see other artists in the lobbies just doodling in their sketchbooks. There was no, they didn't have any, purpose or care in the world. It was just anyone could come and join, and we'd all just kind of share this experience together, and it was very casual and very open, and it's always fun to welcome other people and to network like that. It's really special.
Yeah, and one of the other things I found about drawing when I started trying to draw ponies is it's really relaxing, a really fun thing to do when you're trying to calm down for the night. I was finding it to be a relaxing exercise that would help me calm down from my day of stress or a full day of, doing podcasts or playing video games or whatever. And I find that drawing is actually really relaxing. It's almost meditative.
It's definitely, yeah, it's got a big therapeutic aspect to it. I always try and do that. To start my day, I'll have some sort of, art-based activity to help me get into the swing of things and to cool down afterwards.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we're starting to run out of time here. So, and I know I can talk about art all day, and you probably could talk about art all day. But do you have any, do you have any like final wisdom that you want to pass on to everyone?
Well, I'm definitely not a wonder spokesperson for the fandom in any regard, but I would definitely recommend people just talking to people around the vendor hall, other artists, other creative minds of any sort, musicians, content creators, community guests, and just take advantage of the opportunities that we've got at conventions or just online. This community is so incredible and very open to just welcoming new minds. So yeah, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you for joining us, Midnight. Well, everyone, that's gonna pretty much do it for the podcast tonight. As always, this is Dratta Arcana, your host. If you're looking to contact me, you can contact me via dratta.arcana@gmail.com, or you can contact me via Dratta Arcana Gaming on Facebook. And if you're looking for this in any of my other videos, please check out my YouTube, and please subscribe while you're there and like this video, especially since it will help out Midnight. And with me tonight is special guest.
Hey guys, I'm MidnightPremiere. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, and I will have her DeviantArt linked into the description of this video. Please check it out. And we'll see you guys on the next video. Have a good night, every pony and every creature.
Good night.